Hi, I'm Miss Erica from the Alameda String Academy, and I'm going to talk to you about Allegro, which is number 8 in Suzuki book number 1. There are just a few primary things that I want to talk about. One is how we're going to use our bow in this piece. The other is about the contrast between the 3 lines and the ideas that we are kind of portraying in the lines when we move from forte, staccato, and kind of a bouncy feeling to the sweet dolce section in measure 9, and then back to the odd tempo in measure 13. And then finally, we'll also talk about the seesaw movement when we do our string crossings. So first, let's talk about our bow technique, where we're combining now a broad staccato stroke with a smoother and quicker 8th notes. So the beginning stroke, just on the open A string, is like this. Okay, so we have staccato quarter notes and then 8th notes, which are just normal bow when they come out kind of smooth because we're just going back and forth. Nice and easy is sort of what I like to think when I play it. Nice and easy. Okay? So, when I put this together with my fingers, the first line is going to sound like this. And so we're using the big muscle movements of the broad staccato stroke where my hand is actually really quite loose. And I'm just focusing on shooting my hand back and forth, and the small muscle movements of the 8th note part. So once more. A great way to practice this would actually be to put a variation of this in your scale, okay? Where we play maybe 2 8th notes followed by, 2 quarter notes followed by 4 8th notes. So, that would be the basic rhythm, and then when we add our fingers to it, we play quarter, quarter, 8th, 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 quarter, quarter, 8th, 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 like that. So here's the first couple notes of the scale with that rhythm. And you'll notice as I play this that I'm playing it slowly enough to really give myself time in between each of those notes when I'm stopping the bow, which is basically what makes the staccato sound is the stop, the space between the notes. As I'm stopping my bow, I'm kind of checking in with my hand and making sure that it's loose and my joints feel soft. My wrist feels soft, my elbow, my shoulder feels soft, and most importantly, my fingers feel soft. And I'm keeping my thumb bent the whole time. You'll also notice that as I play this sweeping staccato stroke, that I'm playing from the lower half of the bow, which gets me kind of close to this small triangle angle, but it's sort of we're playing it in between the small triangle and the square, where we're starting somewhere in the middle, and we're going past the middle, closer to the tip, closer to the big triangle, to get that whole range of motion. And so what we're going to end up with is our wrist is going to need to be really easy to move as we go, because we don't want it to stay straight. This is what it looks like when we end up with a straight bow. And you see how if I don't straighten my wrist, then or if I if I keep my wrist straight, then I end up with my bow in the middle of the string, right in the road some of the times. But then other times, my bow goes off the string. And I don't want that. One, it's going to be very hard to control. And two, it's not going to make a great sound. What helps us to keep this beautiful sound is our bow grabbing the string in the consistent spot throughout the stroke. So by keeping my wrist flexible, and letting it rise and letting it kind of go down as I play my full range of motion here, I'm allowing the bow to stay kind of in its own traffic lane, okay? Because my fingers can now follow the bow to where it needs to go, or kind of guide it, actually. And I don't end up with, if I keep my wrist straight, you'll see how actually my fingers may actually fall off the edge of the bow. I might not have room for my fingers to stay on the bow because everything is so stuck here. Okay, so I want to keep my arm up the whole time and make sure I have plenty of room. Okay, now let's talk about the string crossing in measure 10, or measure 9 and measure 10. Okay, and this is a perfect example of an opportunity where we can really use that bendy wrist, let it rise so that we have space to get all the way back up to the lower half with a smooth bow. The reason why this is so important in this section is because of what it says right at the bottom of the measure in measure 9. It says dolce, which in Italian means sweet. And so we're looking for a different sound here. We're looking for a sweet sound that is of a totally different idea or character than the bouncing kind of jubilant stroke that we were using in the first line. So we want to try to keep the bow moving and keep it as smooth as we can. With as few bumps as possible, and even stopping. So I almost think of this stroke as I'm drawing a very, very skinny oval. Instead of down and then up, I'm really just very gently turning a corner, or like going around the corner from down bow to up bow. And I'm never, ever really thinking in my mind that I'm stopping and changing direction, okay? And that is going to help us with a smooth bow. And when we combine it with our kind of elevator elbow, getting from the E string to the A string, then we really want to be quick to get our bow over to the A from the E string to keep it nice and smooth. It's almost as if I want to finish, before I finish my E, I'm sort of playing with the angle of my bow on the E string. I'm aiming it towards the A string. And then at the last second, I go fully over to the A and catch it on the way up on the corner of my very, very skinny oval. So let's put this all together then with the contrast between that line, the dolce, the sweet line, and the forte that came before it and the forte that comes after it. And you'll have a really beautiful kind of storyline to your piece. And we always want to tell a story when we're playing music, because that's what music is all about. It's a story without words. It's a picture without words, or a painting, or a feeling, all of these things. Whatever you can imagine in your imagination, you can put into your music, and have it come out through the kinds of sounds that you make as you play. So when you're practicing, it's not just about doing exactly, what a robot might do or exactly what you think you're supposed to do, but we always want to go back to how do we want it to sound, and then we work on that. There's one last detail in this dolce line that is really, really is like the icing on the cake, and that is what it says at the end of the line. We have a diminuendo, okay, that's the two lines that kind of come together to a point. It's really showing you the volume of sound. We're turning the knob down. Okay, we have the diminuendo, and then we have a ritardando. It's spelled out R-I-T in the music. That's short. That's an abbreviation for ritardando, which means just slowing down. Okay, and then we have a fermata at the end of the line. Fermata literally in Italian means to hold. So whatever the fermata is over, whether it's a note or a rest, you're going to hold on to that for a little bit. If we stop time. And the timing of all of this is up to you. But I suggest practicing it by counting the beats and slowing the beats down in your mind. So it might be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. You could play around with the timing of how much you slow down once that ritardando starts, and then how long you want to hold on to the fermata. So that whole line will sound like this. Etc. So I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial of Allegro, and make sure that you look out for the other tracks where you can play through the piece solo with me, or with me and the piano accompaniment, or with the accompaniment all by yourself.